Welcome, Martin. Over to you.
Thank you, Guy. Thank you, Peter. I hope everybody can hear me okay. Good evening, everyone. It's only 5:30 a.m. where I'm at. So yes, what a great intro, and thank you. Every once in a while, that's the term that's used for me. Interesting, which can be taken a couple different ways. So here's our quick agenda. Guy hit the nail on the head. The truth is, as expert coaches, it's in our imperative to ensure that we create personal transformation that is lasting. So right off the top, we're going to talk about this new behavior model. And then Peter said, hey, why don't you talk about all three books? So this is a special presentation because typically it's just one. It's a lot of content. So we're going to talk about this behavior model, that we're going to deviate. We're going to set that aside. We're going to get into habit. Then we're going to get into pressure. We authored a book called The Habit Factor in 2010. In 2015, the pressure paradox came out. So we'll talk about core ideas there. And then we'll get into the meat of this, which is the story element. We do have a couple breakout exercises we should be able to fit in, and then we'll go into a Q&A. So as expert coaches, all of you know this, and at the same time, this is what mastery is. Mastery is covering the fundamentals, and it's about repetition. So who can tell me another term for transformation? And Guy, I'm going to lean on you, either chat or Mike. I'm looking for another term for personal. Well, it's for transformation, but obviously it fits for personal transformation. Anybody got a term? The cartoon here is the clue.
Metamorphosis.
Woo! Who said that? Brilliant. Yes. So the idea is when we transform, we metamorph, and the metamorphosis is very interesting concept because it's actuated in our skills and our habits. Thus, this cartoon here, we have a butterfly explaining to the policeman that that's an old photo. He was once a caterpillar, and now he's a butterfly. And what we know is that the butterfly's habits are obviously very different than the caterpillar's habits. So transformation, metamorphosis are the same thing, but the key idea here as coaches is the transformation happens in and with our habits. And that's not just me, that's basic definition right here. So that brings us straight to this, what we call the behavior ecosystem. And it's really a 30,000 foot view of our behaviors. We all live in this. Peter lives in it. I live in it. You live in it. Everybody's in this. And I'm going to give you a quick example. It's a bit silly, but it shows you, because most behavior models represent behavior in a linear fashion. And this is an ecosystem. It's truly what has emerged from this book, and it's what takes place on a daily basis. So here's an example. A comet strikes, boom, it affects my environment. I feel terrified, and I start running. Maybe I hide under a desk. So I'm hiding under a desk, and I'm thinking, OMG, the world is ending. That's my story. So comet strikes, I start running, I hide under a desk. Now there's no more comments for, let's say, an hour or two. I feel safe. So then I take a walk outside and I'm on the beach. This is an ecosystem. Again, we all live within. Now, it's not always linear like this. Here's another example. I step on a train or a subway and it feels unsafe. So my environment immediately changes my story, and then my behavior changes. What do? I grab my wallet or I grab my purse, and boom. So environment, unsafe, my story changes. It goes from here to here. the information, and then I grab my wallet or my purse. So we're going to table that ecosystem because we're going to come back to it. But when it comes to habit development, and by the way, I'm going to go, excuse me, real quick, habit, everything is actuated here in the middle circle, the middle concentric circle. So that's the first book, that's the habit factor, and that's what we're going to focus on. Let's try this. Key habit development ideas. The first one is this. Good habits happen when planned. Bad habits happen on their own. So it reminds me of, there's a Jewish proverb that says, bad habits are like a comfortable bed, easy to get into, right? And hard to get out of. That's bad habits. When it comes to good habits, and we're going to get to this, this is a tracking sheet we'll get to. When it comes to good habits, we want to plan. Here's a quick question, because you're all experts. Is this a skill or is this a habit? Tying our shoes. Anybody?
Perla said a habit, a skill. Marielle said both.
Who said that?
Marielle said both.
Marielle, brilliant. You win the prize. Woohoo! Yeah, the answer is it's both. And it's very important to reiterate that. Remember the concentric circles where it said behaviors, habits, skills? Habit and skill are what I call fraternal twins. They're almost the exact same thing. Now, if you go out in the behavior science world, often scientists, psychologists, they trip over themselves, tragically trying to create a distinction, the difference between habit and skill. For the most part, it's a semantic difference. They are very, very similar. Again, fraternal twins. When you learn any skill, you're cultivating the habit. And here's further proof. How many people are familiar with the 4 levels of learning or the 4 levels of confidence? Just give me a feel. Is it 90%, 100%, 20%? Any idea there, Guy?
We've had Hina say yes.
Okay, good. Well, and a lot of people aren't, and a lot of people are. And as master coaches, it's imperative we understand the process to learn, whether it's a skill or a habit. And I want to talk you through this really quickly. So go back to before you could drive. You remember what that was like, Guy? So say you're 15, or yeah, it's called unconscious incompetence. You didn't even know how badly you drove because you hadn't begun to drive. Then you started practicing. So you were consciously incompetent. You almost killed a family member because you were learning how to drive, right? And then the next level is conscious competence. You got better. You were aware you were better, but you still weren't very good. And the highest level, of course, is unconscious competence. So this is where you tie your shoes without looking, without paying attention. This is where you drive, and this is semi-scary, actually, because a lot of people drive like this. We're checked out because we're so comfortable driving. It's unconscious competence. And habit and skill share this same level of automaticity, which is the key word. Everybody got that? That makes sense? That's how habit and skill are very similar. Here's another example. In the brain, it's the same. They reside in the exact same place, Peter. I know you know this. When they're fully formed, it's in the limbic structure, except for when we're practicing and it's difficult, it's in the prefrontal lobe. So practice, practice, practice. Ultimately, skills and habits at the highest level end up in the limbic structure. Everybody agreed? Got it. So very important. Now this that tees us up for PAR. When the habit factor came out in 2010, that was all we were promoting: plan, act, record, reassess. Now, a lot of coaches, and there was a book popularizing something called the habit loop, right? But I'll table that for a second. So plan, act, record, reassess. This is how we are going to practice the habit and move it to the automaticity. Plan, act, record, reassess. We're going to break down the process. Just write down PAR. All right. You are not a rat. Who's a rat here? Humans, I believe we're all humans. Humans have 3 innate capacity. We have choice, we have intention, and we have reflection. What's crazy to me, and I shouldn't use that language, is the habit loop is based on the study of rodents. So it's not terribly helpful, maybe 10% helpful. You're a human. So what I like to say is you are not a rat, you are not a rodent. The habit loop, which everybody's running around thinking is fantastic, has some challenges, some significant challenges, right? When's the last time a rat or a rodent reflected upon their day or their week? When's the last time they chose what habit they were going to cultivate? It doesn't happen. Humans have this capacity. The science of the habit loop was studying rats and mice. So this is what PAR looks like. And this is what habit alignment looks like. These are 2 key concepts: habit alignment and habit strength. Really quickly, if I'm going too fast, somebody raise their hand or say stop or ask for clarity. I want this to be fun and entertaining and interactive. So when we're thinking about PAR and habit alignment, here's a simple example. This is straight out of the book. Peter knows this. If it's run a marathon, well, a lot of people say, I'm going to use a to-do list and I'm going to call a trainer. I'm going to buy shoes. I'm going to sign up. And it's SMART goals. It's a bunch of to-do items. The habit factor promotes this idea of habit alignment. Your goal, guy, is to run a marathon. What are the core recurring behaviors you can do and plan? And we're going to talk about how this works, that will drive the goal's attainment. So for instance, if it's run a marathon, I know I need to be hydrated and I need to stretch and I need to run. And then the question is, what's the minimum? So write this down: minimum success criteria. Minimum success criteria. Is it 6 glasses of water or is it 3 glasses of water? Does that make sense? Is it 50 push-ups or is it 10 push-ups? Am I going to run for 25 minutes or 5 miles? The minimum success criteria sets the bar. And when you're starting, you start low and then you elevate the bar after 4 weeks. So the next part of PAR is to identify the target days of the week. Because we live in a world with pattern and rhythm, 1 week to the next, right? Everything's energy. Energy has this innate capacity, if you will, to form patterns and rhythms. So each week goes by. If we're running for 20 minutes on Monday or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, we're moving much closer to our goal much more quickly. Everybody got this? I'm going to show you another example. So when it comes to goal achievement, it's less about a to-do list and it's more about core recurring behaviors. I hate to show this slide. Who tracks habits like this? Who tracks habits like this?
Linda said she can relate to it. Billy Chan says, got track is better than not track. Linda said, become compliance pressure. And Hina says, I tried it, but it didn't work for me.
Okay, well, I love that. I love all those comments. And so the real challenge with this is what does this tell me? Do I meditate for 20 minutes or 2 minutes? Am I supposed to meditate every day? My point is, where's the plan? Now, again, it's better than nothing, but I don't know what the minimum success criteria is. And I don't know what the target days are. Everybody get that? So this is what, by the way, again, better than nothing. I'm not trying to bash it. I'm trying to share this idea that when we want to promote habit strength, we do it from 1 4-week tracking period to the next. So this, it may be an ugly tracking sheet, and that's actually what we call it, an ugly tracking sheet. It was the birth of not only the book, but the app. There is a free app called the Habit Factor. So it incorporates PAR. So what happens here, Guy, is we put the name of the habit here, and then below it in parentheses. So push-ups, 25. And then what we do, Peter, and I know you know this, we choose in the T column, what is our target days? Is it Monday? We put a 1. If it's not Tuesday, we put a 0, and we just use 1s and 0s. And then so we fill in all the T's for each week, 1s, and then in the A's, 0s or 1s. And then in the comments, we write, this was awesome, or this wasn't awesome. I did great, or I missed today. So it looks a little bit like this. This is a very high achiever. He happens to be a mayor of one of the largest cities in LA. And he just sent me this, and it occurred to me right as I was preparing, I might as well throw this in and share with you. So he went through the process. He's 8 weeks in. I mean, I just got this text a few days ago, and he is stoked. He's fired up because you can see he's following the process, binary, and he's adding notes. This guy is a mayor. He's a high achiever, and yet he's taking the time to plan and cultivate habits. Any questions, comments? We're going to have a breakout in a second, I think, if that's okay with everybody. So we keep it binary. We add the habit name up here, and then we add 1s and 0s in the target column. And we add comments as we act and track. Plan, act, record, reassess. So a lot of people are like, that is ugly. That is unprofessional. Maybe, except for, again, that guy's a mayor. So you tell me if that's what he's, I think they have a multi-billion-dollar budget. Having said that, this is what the app looks like, much more clean. And for professional coaches, there's almost nothing better, because somebody creates their habit tracking chart, and then they mail it to the coach. And so the coach and the coachee are on the exact same page because they agree upon what habits to track. And then each day they check it off. And so everybody's on the same page. And if you're thinking, well, this guy's not a doctor or a scientist, what does he know? Here's a psychologist. I recommend this to my clients. This guy's a professor and a PhD, and it's the exact same thing. So he was via Twitter. I had presented last week at a university, and he snuck into the presentation, said, I learned a lot. I said, what did you learn? He shares this. The point is, this is a process that has proven to work for 12 years, and professionals use it with their clients. It's a great coaching tool.